you been?
I'm in Melbourne right now. It is a cloudy day, overcast, rainy. It is 9 a.m. in the morning. It's 6 p.m. for you, correct?
Correct, it is.
Yes, it's an interesting place to be right now with social isolation. There's no one walking the streets, and if there are, they're only walking their dog or going out for the occasional bout of exercise, and that's it. It's really, really surreal.
You're in Melbourne, and we're well into spring, headed towards summer, so you're well into fall, headed towards winter.
Correct. Yeah, it's getting pretty miserable outside, and some of the leaves are changing color out. It's getting wetter. The water itself is getting significantly colder. I have a very thick wetsuit that I usually go diving in, and you feel the chill after like 3 or 4 hours, as opposed to being like, oh, this is nice, I can stay in here all day. It's just not possible anymore.
So you and I have met over Facebook. You post a lot of pictures of bones, but I don't know much about you. So where did you get your education? Have you been in Australia the whole time?
Yeah, no, I got my education in Australia. It's a long story. I think I was very much drawn to bones and dinosaurs when I was about 4 years old. I opened up this book, and it had this beautiful glossy picture of the most horrific looking Tyrannosaurus Rex you've ever seen. Straight its back, looks more like a hominid than it did an actual dinosaur, and I was so intrigued by the picture of it, and I asked my uncle at the time, and I said, what the heck is this creature? And he went on to describe what dinosaurs were, and I was completely drawn in by it. And then of course I was part of that Jurassic Park kind of ensemble as well. Growing up with that movie, really it was a defining moment for that entire generation. And I think if you talk to any paleontologists our age, they'll tell you of the effect that 1993 Spielberg classic had on every single one of them, because it is such an exciting movie. There's only 12 minutes of dinosaurs, and I mean, just the concept of bringing them back and the idea of like what would the dinosaurs sound like is equally as fascinating as well, and all the noises that they put in. So for example, the Tyrannosaurus Rex is a bunch of moaning tortoises that are having with each other, and you think to yourself, that's a really strange noise. How do you pull that from something? And the velociraptors are screeching dolphins, which is why you kind of hear and you think about that intelligence, and you hear that squeaking as well, and the ability to open doors. So for me, a lot of it was perseverance in my education. I did a Bachelor of Environmental Science, and I really didn't like it very much whatsoever. I realized I really wanted to be out of the field an awful lot. I loved going out there and finding the things, so then I just kind of threw myself at it as much as possible. And in doing so, it's when I came across, things like this. You find heaps and heaps of shark teeth just lying around the place.
So, I found little ones on the beach, and they're black. And I wondered, first, why are they black? And how come they don't have all the ridges on them still?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to taphonomy, how these fossils are deposited at the bottom of the sea floor over many millions and millions of years, there's a lot of different factors that can come into it as well. So it always depends on how the animal treated the tooth when it was alive. For example, with sharks, you'd expect to find more because they have significantly more shark. They lose a lot of teeth. Like it's somewhere in the range of like 12,500 teeth in their entire lifetime that they'll go through. In terms of the colors and stuff like that, it always depends on the minerals that are associated in the matrix or the surrounding sediments of the tooth. They precipitate into the bone structure itself and change the consistency of the bone into the surrounding rock itself. So when you pick up, say, a 5 million year old tooth like this one here, it's not technically the remnant of the tooth. What you're technically holding is the rock, but it's basically replaced with the minerals that have been forming around that particular structure.
So you went to school in Australia. What degree or degrees do you have?
I have a Bachelor of Environmental Science, and I decided that very early on I didn't want to pursue and do any more research. I saw the way that others were treated during other aspects of research, and I thought to myself, it's not for me. I was really intrigued by science communication an awful lot. I just thought it was something that was really engaging, something I'd always wanted to do. And being part of the Jurassic Park kind of generation, I was also part of the David Attenborough generation as well. And you got to see how this incredible person came out and gave talks and spiels about all this amazing material. And you thought to yourself, wow, it's more important now than ever to really understand what the heck is going on. And for people, an average person, to understand what we do as a whole, because there's no denying the fact that we're going through a mass extinction event, and most people would have absolutely no idea that that's the case. but we're going through the 6th mass extinction that Earth has ever been through, and the main cause of it is us, and it's downright terrifying to think that people are just going on with their average lives. You know, the response that we've had to the COVID-19 crisis is the response that we needed to climate change, human-mediated climate change this entire time. And so I looked at the retrospective information that, you know, governments and other scientists were giving, and, you know, it comes down to things like when people, famous people, have more sway over what people believe, like Kim Kardashian, she can send out a single tweet and she can say, climate change is real, guys, it's totally real, and more people will believe that than when a scientist who studies his entire career comes out and says, I have all these peer-reviewed things, you should have a look at every single one of them. No one looks at them, but people will listen to people who are celebrities for some bizarre reason. I think that was one of the overarching themes that I kept on coming across, that a lot of the scientists, even though they're absolutely brilliant, are very much disconnected with the people that they're trying to tell this information to. And so I wanted to be the bridging gap that kind of connects them a little bit more to understanding the incredible evolutionary spectrum of life that we have in front of us. And fossils are that perfect medium with which to do it as well.
You picked the perfect field to do that because people love what you do. So you talked about a lot, and I want to talk about all of it. So I am not even really sure where to start. But to pick your brain a little bit, the 6th mass extinction, most people don't understand what that is. So when you explain it to people that are not scientists, you also have to explain, so what? They don't understand why they should care.
I very much like comparing the current extinction event to the one that took place 66 million years ago, you know, and we look at the reasons why the non-avian dinosaurs went extinct, because it's the most famous extinction of all time. Everyone knows why the dinosaurs went extinct. It was because of that huge meteorite that smashed into the Yucatan Peninsula 66 million years ago. But what a lot of people don't seem to realize is that it was a meteorite that was the same size as Mount Everest, traveling 20 times the speed of a bullet. And when it smashed into the modern-day Yucatan Peninsula 66 million years ago, it created a hole that was 30 kilometers deep, 100 kilometers wide, and basically vaporized part of the ocean directly underneath it. It created a mountain chain the same size as the Himalayas in a matter of seconds, and tsunamis that emanated from it as well, that enveloped the globe, global superfires, the soot, debris from this impact blocked out the sun for 3 whole months. And I said the statistics, 3/4 of all life at the time were wiped out in the blink of a geological eye. And we are on par with the equivalent of a meteorite that is 10 kilometers in size, and we are just wreaking havoc on planet Earth right now.
You know, you can explain the magnitude, and you've got the perfect way to explain the magnitude of it. And I'm going to guess that people don't realize that the reason mammals were able to move in is because of that event that changed everything, not just the geography, which is what you explained, but it changed all the dynamics to allow some species to hang around that were already there, and other species to actually occupy some space that they wouldn't have been able to do. But so what if we kill 3/4 of the species on Earth right now? We're humans. We're still going to have everything we need, right?
I love that mentality, because I hear it sometimes quite too often, and we are a species ourselves. You know, we're hominids, Homo sapiens, and it'll shock a lot of people to think that, you know, 50,000 years ago there were a number of species of humans. Neanderthals, you had the Floriensis as well, the little hobbits off the coast of Indonesia, and we probably mated and intermixed with every single one of them as well. And the difference is that we're become right at the top of the food chain where we didn't belong. You know, you think about the great white shark and how long it took to develop the serrations along the teeth to become the macro predator that it is today. It took millions and millions of years. Humans basically assumed that role in a very short amount of evolutionary time because of our humongous brains. And so what we see is us basically assuming the top of the food chain in every single possible instance. We are continental super predators, the likes of which we have never seen, the world has never seen before. We are devastating things to an extent that we could never possibly imagine. And the difficult thing is that humans don't live any longer than about 100 years, you know, so we don't see those generational changes take place in society and in the land around us as well. But, you know, if you talked to my grandfather who lived in Melbourne, he would tell you that he would be able to shoot rabbits and there would be kangaroos going past his house, you know. that does not happen in Melbourne suburbia anymore. That is just completely gone, and a lot of the wildlife that used to live here is now completely devoid. So in short, I guess what I would say to that is humans are super predators. We're terrifying. We have a moral obligation to look after everything around us, and we should be looking after everything around us. Because if we don't, we'll be left going,
what the heck
did we go wrong? Future generations will look back on us and go, why did you not stop this? Why couldn't you have done more? And I think that's very telling.